So in this video, we're going to be taking these pallets and turning them into some bespoke shelves. But before we get into how we do it, let's just talk about today's sponsor. Now, if you're not familiar with Go Fiber products, I will explain towards the end of the video, but it's basically a little pot that contains fibers that you put on your hair and it gives the illusion that you've got hair. Check out the description if you want to know more. Now, breaking down these pallets couldn't be easier because I'm using a jigsaw. Now, the reason for that is because this pallet wood is really dry, and I knew that if I'd have used a pallet breaker or a crowbar, I would have broken more than would have been usable. Now, this is a little selection that I've got to choose from. I've chose the roughest, most ugliest wood possible just to see if I can actually get something, saleable or usable as an end result. This is the one I chose along with this one, and we're going to go straight into the workshop and de-nail. Actually, we'll do that outside because it's far too warm in there. Pop the nails out and then we'll get to work. If you're enjoying the video so far, remember to give it a like. Thank you so much. Guys, what I'm doing here is mixing some wood glue with some of the sawdust that I collected from a previous project, which was indeed a pallet planter, like what I used to make on the channel, but a better version. Now, I'm not sure I would do this again, and I haven't on the later version of these shelves, which I'll show you again at the end of the video. We've got a lot to get through towards the end of the video, I know, but the reason why is, as you'll see through the steps, the shavings throughout all the different bits of sandpaper, and obviously the Indian rosewood stain that I used as well, all of those processes seem to have made the glued spots extremely dark. But to be fair, I did end up putting the darker spots of the shelves facing upwards so we can't really see them, and I have given them a little bit more structural integrity for having so much glue. Now, I had to plane so much off of these boards in order to get them, button up well so that they'd take the glue, under the pressure of the clamps without bowing the wood. It was quite a long process. I've sped it all up for you guys. So to get all the boards the same length, I've only got a £20 DIY hand planer. I'm just demonstrating that you don't need a tabletop planer if you're just looking to make, a handful of shelves. I just had to keep joining them up again to make sure that there was no sort of high spots and low spots. It took a lot of work, more sanding, more planing, just to make sure that the shelves would join before I could then glue them together, which is exactly what I've done. I'll put some more music on and let you enjoy the video. So now that I've cleaned a lot of the glue off of the 2 glued planks, it was time to measure and cut this board into 2 separate pieces. Now I managed to get 2 shelves from this one board of 2 pallet slats, and each shelf was 1 inch shy of just 2 feet, which fitted the area these shelves were intended for quite nicely. However, it would have been nice to get an accurate sort of measurement to make it more saleable. I used the wood that I had to hand at the time, and I'm pretty happy with the size overall. All the tools that I'm using here are very basic tools that if you've got a basic toolbox, you're probably going to have everything I used anyway. And you can make very similar shelves because they are bespoke. You're never going to get 2 shelves alike because you're never going to get the knots in the same place. You're never going to get the holes, etc. And it all adds to the character of each individual shelf. I didn't like how flat the front of them was, so I just rounded it over with the planer just by eye until we had something that looked a little bit more attractive and a bit softer on the eye, really. Very simple to do, and just a light sand afterwards just to sort of round them over even more, as hopefully you'll be able to see once I've cleaned down, ready to stain these 2 shelves. Now what I'm using here is just some linseed oil mixed with 1 drop of Indian rosewood dye. Now although they didn't mix well, I'm not sure why. They both said they were oil based. I'm not sure if there was water instead of oil in the dye. I don't know, it was just sort of a whim purchase of mine to try and get a little bit of colour on these boards. What I ended up doing was sanding a lot of it back and going on straight just with the Indian rosewood dye. Just on its own here, just on a rag. I'm pretty sure that's an old sock that I wrestled off of my husky, but it seemed to have done the job quite nicely. On version 2 of these shelves, again you'll see at the end, I did actually sand a lot of that stain off, which brought out the grain even more. So I do recommend that you do similar if you are planning on making similar shelves. Now moving on to the brackets. So I purchased these online via a link that took me to a website on a DIY how to build shelves forum. Now, although I didn't get any ideas from building shelves, I was specifically there to look at brackets. These literally caught my eye, and they matched what my wife had been looking for bracket-wise when she asked me to originally make her some shelves. Now, I had nothing but problems with these brackets, and I contacted the company, and they basically told me to get over it and go elsewhere in future. Now, one of the problems was that the brackets were warped. They were bent out of shape, and they didn't meet together. Another issue was, which I sped up for you, that the threads were not consistent, meaning that these brackets, when you screwed them together, actually got stuck. So what I ended up doing was just taking a piece of rubber mat and a mallet, which I didn't film, and I just bashed the living hell out of these until they kind of was flush. Now, I'm quite fortunate that the paint didn't come off because this is painted steel. However, they did say they had 5 independent coats of paint. For the thread, what I done was I just filed them down and used some equivalent of WD-40 just to sort of help them glide into place, which seemed to have worked quite well. So all that's left to do now is get them fitted in our living room. It's very dark in that corner. I did try to film it. I'm going to just cut it out because it was just too dark, and I'll join you in the workshop. All right? It's just way too dark in that corner of the living room, but I'll give you a little look now with a little bit of a spotlight just to show you. This is what it looks like with all the holes filled in. Now, as promised, here is one I made earlier, as they say. But what I didn't do on this one was spend an hour and 45 minutes filling in all the holes. I left them. There didn't seem to be as many, to be fair. There wasn't as much work to do on these, but I quite like that, to be honest. The wood's got a little bit of life and all I done on there was a little bit of Indian rosewood dye, and finished after 24 hours of letting that soak into the wood with a little bit of raw linseed oil. Now I'm experimenting at the moment between raw and a few other ones as well. Raw at the moment is to my liking, especially on the Pallet planter, which I'm just going to show you now. That's set for my little boy's room upstairs, just for a few of his books, and in between that drying and the heat wave and me obviously staying rehydrated, I made this. Basically this is my version 2 Pallet planter. I call it version 2 because it's built bomb proof pretty much. I've dropped this on the floor twice already, just moving it about in the workshop, which is still kind of a shed. It's got a hell of a lot of work to do. It's a decent size. You're in the middle of it at the moment. It's about 12-14 feet. It's adequate. And all I've done with this is, well, if anyone's interested, I'll do a how to vlog on it. There's no real exposed screw holes in regards to how the top section, which is this bit here, and the bottom bit is actually screwed together. There's nothing obvious, and that's because I actually went through, if you can see these holes here, through the entirety of this plank of pallet wood essentially into the one above, and yeah, like I say, it's bomb proof. It's, well, it's not, but you know, version 3 might be, but that's pretty good as it is. And just down here I've got a piece of wood, 2 pallet lengths that I just glued together, left sat for 24 hours. It's not had a final sand, as you can tell by the back of it. There's a hell of a lot of groove marks in there from whatever was dragged on and off of this pallet. The wood's looking really tired, to be honest. However, what I did do is I had a fire in the garden just to get rid of all the offcuts, and I threw this on top, only for maybe 1 to 2 minutes while turning it, pretty much like cooking. I cooked this piece of wood, and on this side I've just added the very smallest minute amount of linseed oil, and on the other side I've just left it unprotected. We all know, well, we don't all know, but some people know that burning wood actually preserves it and protects it. The linseed oil just gives it that little bit of an extra sort of depth of look, makes it more appealing, and also protects the wood as well. But this was just a trial. What the burning has done is it's made the wood very light. This is the same wood I've used for the previous 3 shelves and the planter as well, and it's made it really light. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously it's drew out a lot of the moisture in there, but I think that looks quite nice on that side for burnt wood. Now, if you've enjoyed this little video, it's taken a lot to put it together. I'm aiming to do 1 a week like this, just to sort of show people that you don't need expensive tools, and you don't need, you know, degrees in woodwork, carpentry and all that to make something that's saleable. And I'm going to put it to the test as well. I'm going to take a couple of pictures of this stuff and put it on probably Etsy or eBay or something like that, and I'll let you guys know the result. I'm not really sure what to charge for this sort of stuff, because there's so much love for making it. It's so enjoyable. You know, I don't know, let me know in the comments if you have any ideas. But yeah, there's 1 more shelf to do, same sort of process. A couple more brackets that I'm going to get from a completely different supplier. I'm not sure if they're going to be the same or not. I just like the look of the pipe work, and of course Go Fibre, which I've got in my hair at the moment, which unfortunately I'm not allowed to put a competition on this channel because YouTube forbid it. So what I'm going to say is head over to Joe Mills, the allotment guide on Facebook. I'll put it on the screen now. Head over there and you'll see instructions on how to enter, and I'm going to be basically giving it all away to you guys, because although this video is sponsored, it's not sponsored financially, which is really important to say, but I am sponsored in the sense that I can get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds worth of their product for free, just by showing you guys what it, you know, what it does pretty much. So they do keep me supplied with, you know, good looks, shall we say. So I'm putting it out there. If you're interested and you don't want to spend any money and you want to go, follow the instructions on the Facebook group, and with any luck, personally I'll send you you know, 1 or 2 of whatever I showed you in the video. I can't remember exactly what was there. And then if we do another collab with Go Fibre, we'll hopefully get a bit more of a bundle together and we'll have more of a grand prize. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Make sure to subscribe. 76% of people who watch don't subscribe, but it helps the channel out quite a lot. So yeah, if you do that, I'll be much appreciative. All right, thank you so much. Cheers. Stay out the sun, and I will see you in the next one. All right. Don't know what that look was. Cheers.